guys, it's Lizzie. So I'll wait for a few more people to get here before getting into the upset, stressed, what this live stream is going to be about. But I just finished, let me move this down a little bit. I have this new tripod that I've been using with my phone, and I never know quite how, let's see, how do I do this? Anyways, like I said, I do some campus ministry work with some colleges where I live, and we just got off a rosary vigil for racial justice. I don't know if you guys know what happened. I actually didn't talk about this on social media. I haven't been on social media like at all the past week. But another Black man was murdered by police officers, and this one is actually really close to my heart, because the man who was murdered, Walter Wallace, had bipolar disorder. And I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying this because he was holding a knife, and so many people believe it's your fault for getting killed if you have a weapon, but he was sick and he was having a manic episode. And sometimes people, when they go manic who are bipolar, they get a little rowdy. And I feel like a lot of stigma for mental illness, like bipolar and schizophrenia, they view people as like inherently violent if you have a mental illness. And so when the family called for an ambulance to come to take this man to a psych ward because he's bipolar and manic, instead he gets murdered. And I feel like we've been having so many national conversations about things like this, which I really appreciate. So many changes and so many propositions on ballots for the election regarding changing police policies, crying emojis. Thank you guys so much for empathizing with this situation. Just like anytime I see someone who is mentally ill, like I can tell if someone is bipolar or schizophrenic, if they're a homeless person, I always just feel like part of my heart is beat stronger. The empathy is so much stronger if it's someone who suffers and deals with what I have to go through. So clearly we need to have mental health workers collaborating with the police. And I think when a call like that happens, they should have a mental health worker who comes with the police. And some people with police reform want to get rid of police and only have I don't know how many people actually feel like that. Probably like 2 people want to get rid of all police. But a lot of people with defunding the police want to like sort of replace the police with mental health workers. But my personal opinion is we should have police and mental health workers together, and we should train police departments in what to do if someone has a mental illness. But it's just such a shame that someone was hurting and they were suffering and they're in their episode. And like, I know how it feels to be manic. Like, you feel so out of control. You usually forget everything that happened when you were manic. It's really hard, and it's like you're not yourself. Like, something else is ruling you in the moment. So obviously, like, it wasn't his fault that he had a knife or anything. Like, it wasn't him who was there. So it's just, yeah, I'm just really upset about it. They've had a lot of protests in Philadelphia. They had a curfew there that I heard about. So a lot of things have been happening. And just with the election coming up, I'm just like not excited about the election. Today alone, I've gotten like 10 calls and 5 texts about the election. I've even had people trying to FaceTime me from random numbers in my, like, where I live, so I know it's like regarding the election, constantly getting like calls, texts, FaceTimes, like, please vote for these people, please vote for this proposition, just like random people contacting me all the time. And I'm just so sick of it. Like, I just want the election to happen. But then once the election happens, we're not going to even know who won because of all the mail-in ballots, because in a lot of states, as long as you get it in, you post-date it by the 3rd, then you can like still get it on the 6th and then still be counting all the votes. So the votes aren't even going to be counted. Some states, the early voting, they don't put it through the machine until November 3rd. So it's just going to be a disaster. It's going to be like someone's going to declare victory, then someone else is going to declare victory, then someone else is going to declare victory. It's not going to stop. There's going to be protests and riots regardless of who wins. So I'm just not looking forward to the next week. I think it's going to be really sad. Civil war, yeah, maybe. And honestly, whoever wins, I'm going to be upset about whoever wins, because both candidates, and I'm not just talking about the presidents, I'm talking about state candidates, local, like both main political parties besides the American Solidarity Party, which is like a Catholic party, the third party will never win any elections. They go against Catholic social teaching. And so it's like a lot of people I've talked to who are Catholics, don't even pick a presidential candidate to vote for, because it's like we're dealing with two people who are horrible and who both go against Catholic social teaching. I don't blame people for not picking a president when they're voting. It's so ridiculous. Both are accused of sexual assault, and you know, who knows if the claims are true or not, but the fact that they're both accused, and one of our Supreme Court justices was accused of that, it just makes me so angry. Like, why can't we do better? Why can't we have candidates who are under the age of like 82 or however old they are, like the most old presidents in US history? It just seems like both of them are like mentally declining. So yeah, I'm really upset about the murder. I'm really upset about the election. I think everyone probably feels the way that I do with voting, and I voted in person early, so I don't trust the vote by mail. I know, like, this is shocking. I share a view with President Trump. He doesn't like vote by mail either. My issue with vote by mail is they throw out so many of the ballots if your signature doesn't perfectly match. And like, I have my signature down, like my voting signature. I've had this signature since elementary school, and it's like my signature, but they could throw in my ballot. And I'm sorry. The people who are supposed to be not biased, who are going through the ballots and making sure to not throw them out, I guarantee if you lean one way politically, you're more likely to throw away the ballot if it's the opposite party, right? Because it's completely arbitrary. It's completely ambiguous. It's like a gray area whether or not they match or not. So it's just ridiculous. And apparently there's some nonprofits who are coming in and they'll call you if your signature doesn't match, and then you can come in like with your ID. And yeah, and then in other places you don't even have to have an ID to vote, which is weird to me. So yeah, strangely I agree with Trump, but please don't take this clip and then be like, I agree with Trump. No. I mean, I do agree with Trump on some things, you know what I mean? I agree with every candidate on some things. But anyways, he is against mail-in voting and I'm against mail-in voting. I mean, it's weird because I feel like you have to do it, but I know for me, like, I want to make sure my vote counts. And so, I mean, obviously the virus, I don't want to force people who are like more likely to die of the virus to have to vote in person. So, you know, maybe it had to happen this way, but I wish there were more voting locations. I wish the lines were shorter. I wish there wasn't systemic racism involved in having longer lines in Black neighborhoods. It's just like so much voter suppression goes on. So anyways, I have a super comment from Vince. Let's see what it says. Vince says, Lizzie, I hope things get better for you, and I'm going through a lot too. You're not alone. I'm always here for you, praying for you. Oh, that's so sweet. So I have my computer here. So I'm going to read the comments on my computer, because on here it's like 2 at a time. I'm filming on my phone right now. Everyone gets so mad at me. They're like, you're not seeing my comments. You're not seeing my comments. You're intentionally avoiding me. And I have people like Alexander who are commenting 15 emojis at once. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to see every comment. So I'm going to go to my Twitter real quick. Let's make sure the audio is off. Let's see. I've kind of been like in my own world lately. I've been working on writing my book, and I've been spending like all day doing that. Obviously, I take breaks to make YouTube videos. I'm actually doing my job. I'm not like dipping out on YouTube. I've been uploading, you guys know. But yeah, I've just been working on my book. I think I'm on chapter 6 now. I'm really happy with the first 5 chapters and how they are. They're like, obviously, like, once I can work with a publishing company, they're gonna do like loads of edits and be like, this is horrible. But for me personally now, I'm like really happy where it's at. So I'm gonna try to finish the whole thing and then start over and contact publishing companies again. So I guess not again. They reached out to me originally. I didn't reach out to anyone. So I have to research, what is your book about? My conversion into Catholicism. So it starts with my childhood, and then it goes through high school, college, beyond college. So yeah, what I really am working on now is involving a lot of my friends in it, because after my chapter about depression and everything and all of that, and like doubting the existence of God and everything, I'm more just like talking about evidence for the early church, evidence for Catholicism, papacy, real presence, the Eucharist, Marian dogmas, like all of that. And I realize I need to have more like humanity in it. I can't just be only talking about like evidence and research. I have to have stories and people and love and friendship and all these things. So yeah, that's probably going to be my biggest struggle going forward, making sure I have content about people in it, and it's not just like, not that that's boring, but like, I don't want my book to be like an apologetics only book. I want it to be like Lizzie's life book. So I want it to be an even mix of like emotional stories and evidence. So that's gonna be hard. But I mean, I just have to think about my friends from college and involve them in it. And I think it'll be really fun sharing inside jokes and everything. And then all my friends gonna pick an alias for them. So, okay. Here it is the live stream. I'm gonna click on it and then start reading your guys' comments. Also, one thing I will share my political opinion on, Amy Coney Barrett is a justice now. I'm really happy. She's Catholic, she's pro-life. So that's like the only thing I'll say politically for the rest of the year. Okay, let's read some of the comments. Tenchi says, at least Trump appointed Christians in the Justice Department. Yes, so like I said, there are things that Trump has done that I agree with. There are things that Biden has done that I agree with. There are things that third-party candidates have done that I agree with. There are things that everyone who I disagree with. So obviously, like, you can't agree 100% with one person. Okay. Let's see. Caitlin says, I voted early yesterday in person. Same, I dislike both candidates. Joe says, I'm voting in person on Tuesday. Cool. Oh, also what makes me really upset about life, on YouTube, so I have to go on YouTube to reply to comments on videos, or like I'm listening to music on YouTube when I'm working, and there's just like constant ads all the time for the election, telling me to vote, telling me who to vote for, and I already voted. And I wish I could just like turn off all the texts and calls and FaceTimes and everything. I want it to stop. And so that's the one thing on November 3rd, all of that will stop. I'll stop getting all the ads and everything. But, okay. Do you know that being stressed out and worried is a sin? Do everything without complaining and arguing. I know there are Bible verses like that and about don't worry about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition. But the thing is, if you read through the Old Testament, especially Job, especially a lot of the Psalms, people are ranting and complaining and angry and going on and on and on and worrying to God. Like if you get rid of the entire Old Testament, maybe you can say being happy is a sin. If you go into if you get rid of the Old Testament, maybe you can say like worrying isn't okay. But in the Old Testament, people are constantly ranting at God, so angry, so worried, so scared, so much anxiety, and that's normal and okay, and that's how our relationships with God should be. Sharing emotions with Him, getting support from Him. You can't just turn off your emotions. You have to share all your emotions with God, and then from there, He will give you that inner peace. So ranting about things is not bad as long as you pray through it, which I just got done praying. But yeah, it's important to share. It's important to share about things that are bothering you. You should never feel like you can't share just because there's Bible verses about not worrying. Okay, I'm reading some of the comments. Let's see. Gus says, keep up the good work, Lizzie. I shall do a rosarium for you sooner than later. That's really sweet. The hippie Catholic says, yes, that's amazing. I'll give you my money in regarding a book. Yeah, I'm going to try to make sure the price is down. I'm not trying to like steal your guys' money. So it's definitely not going to be like $20 or anything. I'm going to be like, no. And then a lot of people will do like pre-sales. So like before the book comes out, you can order it and for a reduced price. So I'll probably do that too. And then I'm going to buy my book for my friends because I don't want them to have to buy it. Because I know publishing companies give you like some amount of books for free. But I want all my friends to know why I became Catholic. So I'm going to give my book to all of them to make sure they read it. Okay. And then I'm also going to send the copy of the book and they can read their parts ahead of time to make sure people are okay. But honestly, like college was so long ago. So I think like people I'm talking about who I went to college with, they're probably like not going to make the connection like, oh, in 2014, this person also went to Pepperdine and was in the philosophy department. That's who Lizzie's talking about. Like, I'm sure no one will care at this point. But I think it's important to not just to not add people. And Trevor might make it into the book too. So that'll be fun. And we're kind of debating, like, if I get published, if Trevor, we're gonna do like an alias for him or not. Because he would be talking about things in the past like 2 years. So I feel like everyone will know if I just like make up a name like, oh, Travis, and I'm like, the guy I'm dating named Travis in 2019, people are gonna be like, do you have a second boyfriend? Are you cheating? So I feel like it's just gonna have to be his name. But we'll see how it is. Once we get to that point, we can make all the difference, make all the changes and figure out what's best. Okay. Amit says, what do you think of Lutherans? We look similar to Catholics. Yes, absolutely. They didn't go like completely off the rails with getting rid of beautiful parts of Christianity. But what I tell Lutherans, which I think is really interesting, is that Martin Luther told Lutherans to not name the church after him. Martin Luther did not want to leave the Catholic Church. He wanted to reform the church. And so it went completely against his wishes, snowballing into Protestantism. So I always find that really, really interesting. Okay. Feelings aren't sins, laughing. Yep. Stress is demonic. Actually, that might be true that stress is demonic. I am like not the type of person who worries about things though. I just like feel like in a mood right now because I'm thinking of a bipolar person who is sick in a manic episode who gets shot and killed by police officers. It's just really sad. So I think I'm allowed to be worried and down about someone being murdered. I feel like that's a normal response to people being murdered. Okay, let's keep reading the comments. David says, a lot of the saints go through dark night of the soul where God puts them through trials to strengthen their faith. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Caitlin says, state and local candidates are also super important too, but it's also hard when a lot of candidates don't have enough info on their websites. Yeah, it takes a long time to research all the candidates. It always takes me several hours looking at local candidates and trying to figure out who to vote for all the propositions. There were so many propositions in California, it was ridiculous. And I kept getting texts about like all the propositions, especially Prop 15 was like the most popular one that I was getting text messages about. And if you just got here, I was sharing about how so many candidates were reaching out to me. I mean, so many election people were reaching out to me. And even FaceTiming me, because random numbers have been FaceTiming me. And I also get calls all the time about the election. So I was thinking, I bet these are election people literally FaceTiming me. Like, such an invasion of privacy. I just have been blocking the numbers. Okay, reading through the comments. Do an audiobook, Lizzie. Ooh, that's a really good idea. Do you support any, I love Audible. Do you support any sports teams? I hear music. I feel like one of my neighbors is like blasting music right now. Anyways, do I support any sports candidates? So no, I'm not into sports. I've never dated anyone who's into sports. Actually, that's not true. Someone's sort of into sports. But yeah, I don't think I would be able to be with someone who was like into watching sports all the time. So Trevor's definitely not. It's great. I don't have to pretend to be into sports for the relationship, which I might do if I really liked him. I feel like if I was dating Trevor and I found out like several months in that he liked watching sports, like maybe we were long distance and he like never mentioned it. And then like 4 years in, I find out he's into sports. I might like pretend I like sports, but yeah, at this point, he's not into sports, so I'm not either. My dad, growing up, wasn't into it. He was in the military, so he felt like sports were like not on his level kind of thing, which is ridiculous because athletes work out so hard. But yeah, okay. Someone said, I don't think nuns should be attending Trump rallies. Yeah, that was a little bit cringy. I feel like Bishop Barron did a really good job writing an article about who to vote for, which clearly was like vote for Trump in Bishop Barron's article, but he did it in a really subtle way without straight up saying it. He just said that we need to prioritize certain life issues over other, and life issues are number one. So I feel like he did the best job, whereas a lot of other people are like, actually with priests and stuff, I don't know how it's legal, because you know how churches don't pay taxes, and that's part of how like Cory Booker was like, we need to start taxing like churches, mosques, and temples. But horrible person, glad he didn't win. But yeah, part of it is you're not allowed to make big stances politically. So yeah, who knows? I hope your book is a huge success. Thank you so much. Lizzie, just wanted to say thank you so much for all your videos. I'm 21 and currently in the process of converting, and seeing your passion and love for the faith has helped me so much. Oh, that makes me so happy. I was 22 when I was converting, so we were about the same age. It's so cool. Trump is pro-death penalty, which also goes against the church. Yep, that's what I was saying. Where whoever wins, I'm gonna be upset. I feel like as Catholics, we should be upset by all the candidates and upset by any result. I won't say that on Twitter, but I'll say that here. Okay. Sophia says, Lizzie, this is a random question, but do you have siblings and how do they feel about Catholicism? I love your videos so much. So my sister goes to a non-denom church, non-denominational. I told her pretty early on. I told her like in March that I was going to become Catholic, whereas I told my parents in November. So she was one of the first people I told before some of my best friends, and I tried to like get her to like tag along and like come with me, cross the Tiber with me, but she wasn't interested. It was really interesting because like Church of Christ growing up is about being the early church. So I was like, this is the early church, and I like shared all these things and like quotes and people. But she wasn't interested. So she said, just because it's early doesn't mean it's true. Because, and she was like, in the Old Testament, people are constantly going astray, and like the Israelites and everything, and like people are awful. And so she was like, just because it's early doesn't mean it's right. So yeah, that's my sister. She's actually been on my YouTube channel multiple times. It would be probably difficult to find the videos, but Google account says, since we were just talking about this, Dr. Taylor Marshall said Bishop Barron is misleading the public with his voting guide. The most important life issue is abortion, and ironing them all into a flat sheet is not Catholic. Murder is worse. So I think Bishop Barron voted for Trump. From the article, like I read the article, and from a completely like, I would say I tend to be more liberal on things, so I read it from that perspective. And I still took away from the post that he said life issues are the most important. And clearly, he even said in the article that more people are dying from, I'm pretty sure that more people are dying from abortion than capital punishment. So I feel like that's the main takeaway you should get from that. But anyways, I thought the Bishop Barron, I was surprised. I'm like, wow, Bishop Barron might be a Trump supporter. Interesting. Obviously not like a supporter, but like he might have voted for him. So I think we'd be surprised how many priests and stuff we know who like voted for Trump but are like quieter about it. So yeah, although I did hear in Texas some like bishops or something got in trouble because your party that you're associated with is public information. So whoever you're registered as, so like it came out that like some priests or bishops were like registered Democrats, and it was like all this drama surrounding it. So if I was a priest, I would probably sign up as an independent so no one could like judge me either way for how I was voting. Google account says, do you have Amazon Prime? Yes, I love Amazon Prime. I order from them all the time. I think they're really, really great. Did you know that Francis kisses the Holy Quran? So did Pope John Paul II. So he's just following in the league of previous popes and saints. Whenever I say that, people get so mad, but I'm like, Pope John Paul II kissed the Quran too. Because some people like are like against Pope Francis, but like love Pope John Paul II. And they like agreed on so much. So it's interesting when Pope Francis says it, everyone's against him. But when it was Pope John Paul II, no one was saying anything. 11 says, guys, please pray for me and my family. They are unsaved and I'm doubting God and Jesus a lot. I never felt his presence. I've yelled his name and cried myself to sleep, but nothing happens. I will add you to my rosary prayer list. I think that it's a very Protestant thing to expect God to directly answer you or to feel emotions from him. I recommend a book called The Interior Castle by St. Teresa of Avila. The Interior Castle by St. Teresa of Avila. It talks in depth about feeling emotions towards God and our relationship with him regarding like consolations from his presence. And the book really helped me a lot because when I have bipolar disorder, if you're new to my channel, when I go in depression, I don't feel God's presence at all. And so I almost became an atheist because I went through so long of not feeling God. And I saw all this evil and violence in the world. And I was like, how could I believe in a benevolent God? All of these things were going on, which is going to be my book. And eventually, once I became Catholic, they have a really great view of suffering. And in St. Teresa's Interior Castle, she discusses how we are not owed feelings from God. We do not deserve positive emotions from our relationship with God. We don't deserve, or we're not owed, joy from our relationships with God. It's about obedience and consistency and following God's law. So that book like blew my mind because I just realized like, wow, I've been so selfish in my relationship with God where I've been like craving all this like feeling and like obsessed with feeling and emotion and all of these things. So yeah, I hope that helps out. Alexander says 2020 is the worst year ever. Pandemics, awful presidents, racism, extremism, cities on fire, persecution of the church. It's the end of the world. Now that you say it like that, it does feel pretty apocalyptic, everything that's going on. It's pretty bad. Okay, I'm reading through the comments. See what I'm going to respond to next. I think I lost my place. Okay, I found it. Caitlin says she loves Bishop Barron's voting podcast episode. Interesting. I just read his thing, and it doesn't surprise me that Taylor Marshall assumed the worst of Bishop Barron's post that was pro-life. Okay. Audible. Someone is like, do you do Audible? And someone replied, oh, no. I was saying I listen to Audible and love Audible. And someone changed their username and commented, thanks, Lizzie. I love you too. That's pretty funny. Okay. Alexander says, I find it annoying that a lot of these debates, so I think he's talking about political debates, about facts are about facts as opposed to policies. Instead of saying we should do this, they say we did this, or no, you didn't. Yes, we did. Yeah, they talk a lot about what's happening in the past and like what politicians have done. And with Biden, I kind of get it where, why are we talking about politics again? I don't want to talk about politics. Everyone's getting me to talk about politics. I guess the election is in like, what, 3-4 days? But yeah, during the debates, they're constantly talking about his record and what he's done in the past. But ultimately, it's like, what are you actually going to do when you're president? But I think the reason they kept bringing that up is because Biden was vice president for 8 years. So if he wasn't able to do something when he was vice president, is he actually going to do it when he's president? Can you trust what he's saying? So I think the reason they're asking about records is just to see whether or not people are actually going to keep their word based upon what they've done before. So I think that's why that comes up all the time. But I agree, it should be purely on policy. But politicians lie, so it's hard to know what even to believe. Crossing the Trail says, please pray for the Franciscan sisters in Wisconsin. They have had 5 sisters die this week of COVID. That's so sad. Okay, I'm reading through the comments. People are talking about the death penalty. The death penalty is not okay in Catholicism. There are a couple exceptions, but in general, a lot of people ignored Pope Francis cutting it out of the catechism. I don't think we should take that lightly. I think it's fine to have development of doctrine. Like we were saying, Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI were like veering away from the death penalty and speaking very negatively of it. So it's not out of nowhere where we're against the death penalty now. And I think it's like a lack of respect for Pope Francis when people are constantly like, no, pro-death penalty, pro-death penalty. Like seriously, he literally removed it from the catechism. Catholic monarchy 2024. I know, seriously. I'm pro-monarchy. Wow, someone's like, the catechism has been wrong before. That's not a cute thing to say if you're Catholic. That doesn't sound good. Okay. Sylvia says, hi from Costa Rica. Thank you so much for your Mary series videos. I'm learning how to pray the rosary and these encourage me a lot. Aw, yeah, I recently made my Guadalupe video and I always talk about my Mary playlist, but I've started compiling a lot of videos, a lot about praying the rosary. So yeah, it's exciting that I can help someone pray the rosary. Someone was telling me too that they watched my I pray the rosary every day for a month, and now they've prayed it every day for 2 months. And I'm like, yes, that's so exciting. Okay. Okay. I am so glad I already voted. Same. I was just like, got it out of the way. I still have to think about it because I get text calls and FaceTimes about the election and ads constantly. But other than that, you can kind of put it in the past. Okay. Over the past 20 years, 30% of babies have been aborted. That's insane. It's so crazy. There's this song about abortion by this band that I listened to growing up called Barlow Girl, and it's called Let the Tears Fall Down. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the song. Let's look it up real quick. It's on, I think, their last album. Tears Fall, that's the name, and it's about abortion and all the babies who have died. It's really, really sad and heartbreaking. Melanie says, I used to love Barlow Girl. I know, I still love them, but their band got canceled. Now they're starting a podcast because I followed them on Instagram and they were talking about it. So yeah, abortion is so heartbreaking. Alexander says, I don't understand what's the point of registering as a member of a specific party. It's so that you can vote in the primary. So in some states, you don't have to be registered as a Democrat or Republican to vote in each primary, but most of the time you do have to be registered. Google account says, my spiritual director is an independent, so am I. I think that's how Catholics should be. Okay. Have you seen The Chosen yet? Yes! I made a whole live stream talking about The Chosen. I think not everyone was there when we talked about it. Okay. Okay, here's a super comment. Here is some money to encourage you to keep making videos. Stay faithful. God bless you. Don't stress out. Jesus wins in the end. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. Back to more questions. Alexander, where are the emotion emojis at? Alex Alexander says, in all caps, why are people so obsessed with the death penalty? There's nothing beautiful about it. I am not necessarily against it, but I definitely am not for it. Yeah, that's a good point. People are like obsessed, Catholics are obsessed with being like pro-death penalty, and it's like, yeah, like why is that something that makes you excited? Maybe people feel like it's good to get like revenge on people who have murdered or raped people, but yeah, I don't think it's our life to take. How do you feel about Amy Coney Barrett? I love her. Alexander says, why are you a monarchist? If you have a king, you might end up with someone like Trump and be unable to get rid of him. So when I was in college, I read Plato's Republic, which everyone should read if you haven't. It's amazing. And it talks about the demise of democracy and like all these negative things that will happen with democracy. Like it specifically talks about why homelessness will happen. And it literally is exactly what's happened in the US. So it's not, yeah. But I mean, when I say I'm pro-monarchy, do I actually want to live in a monarchy? Or is it just like this assent to an idea? Is it just like in my head, or do I actually want a monarchy? It's hard to say. But being Catholic, we kind of live in a monarchy, so I get what I want. Okay, new super comment. Lizzie, what is your take on Pope Francis's comments on gay marriage and contraception? How to follow the Catholic faith while dealing with controversy? So I tend to look up to spiritual leaders in the church, so like priests, bishops, other Catholic social media people who talk about it, who have been Catholic for longer than I have, who are older than me, who are more wise than me, who've done way more research than me. I look up to people like that, so I try to follow a lot of people on social media who I respect. So one thing that I was posting specifically regarding civil unions. So number one, Pope Francis is against gay marriage and against contraception. That has never been debated. I know that the mainstream media has constantly tried to promote that he is pro-gay marriage because of a lot of the things that he said and not judging people. And specifically on my social media, I was sharing this Trent Horn podcast that was like an hour long analyzing the situation about civil unions. So I shared that on my social media. Loads of people shared it from where I shared it, which I really appreciated so that we're not getting as confused about things. But yeah, I think it's just important to listen to people, not the media, but listen to Catholics who are talking about it. So I find that that's the easiest thing. Okay. Love says, pray for mass conversion to veganism. Google account says, read Vegano's new letter on Stream Like a Boss, please. Okay, I will screenshot this. Thank you for the donation. Thanks to whomever blocked Marie. What did she say? Huh. Wow, she got a lot of deleted. Huh. Yeah, I don't know what she was saying, but she got a lot of stuff deleted. Peace? Are you kidding me? Peace on earth? Anyways, moderators, chill out. I don't know what she said, but it doesn't sound like it was that controversial. Maybe it was. Okay, Marie was just trolling. Trolls should be blocked if they're harassing people. Yeah, that's true. If someone's trolling, I don't want them in the comment section. That's true. Okay. Have you watched Mother Angelica on YouTube yet? I have a couple times. Speaking of watching people on YouTube, I watched Archbishop Fulton Sheen on YouTube, and he talked so slow. I couldn't do it. I had to speed it up listening to him talking. Because, like, I think it's just my personality where I'm like, and I have, like, transitions and like zoom, 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 zoom. Like that's what we're used to on YouTube today, like music, text, graphics, like all these things. And he's from like a whole other century. And so he's talking and like do to do with like nothing else, just talking, and it's like, wow, it's like a whole other century. So crazy. Can you make a video debunking the myth of the church being an invisible entity instead of a visible body? I just screenshotted that, so it could be a future video. That's actually something my, sorry, I just hit the camera. Have you gone to confession lately? Yes. Something that my dad and I were talking about when I sent him my like becoming Catholic thing. He was talking about how it's like an invisible church rather than a visible church. So yeah, I mean, that's how I used to think when I was Protestant, for sure, that the unity is invisible, which is really sad. You look different. Well, I went blonde, so that's number one. I have darker lipstick. My hair is up, so it actually, if you saw me blonde a week ago, now it looks like I have darker hair because it's balayage. So there's a lot of things that look different about my appearance, but probably because my hair is up is like the number one thing. I loved your brown hair. I know, I did too. So it's like I still get to be brunette when I have my hair like that. Okay, let's read more comments. Diana says, I always watch videos in 1.5 or 1.75 speed, sometimes even 2 times speed. You can, okay, on Audible, you can listen even slower. So sometimes when I listen on Audible, I listen at like 80% speed. I don't know what the exact percent is, but I listen to even slower. And my sister actually works for Audible, so she knows like the pace and stuff. And she's like, Liz, when I listen to Audible, I do 2 times and you're doing 0.7 times? I can't believe it. And she was like sharing it with her coworkers and they're like, I can't believe there's actually someone who listens to the slow speed. We didn't think anyone did that. So that's what I do on Audible. Is civil marriage actual marriage according to the church? Like if a man and women got married through court but not by the church, are they technically married? Yes or no, it totally depends on the situation. I don't know how likely or how unlikely it is, but I know that, let's say you're becoming Catholic or you grew up Catholic but were never confirmed, sometimes you have to get remarried to make it an actual wedding. So, I mean an actual marriage. So you definitely have to talk to your RCIA director and your priest about the exact situations, like why you got married, where you got married, when you got married, whether or not it really is a marriage. So sometimes, for example, if someone was civilly married or even like at a church and then they got divorced and then married again, sometimes the first marriage wasn't even a marriage. So you're like allowed to be married again because that technically is your first marriage. So annulments, especially in the US, like we don't treat marriage like a sacrament at all. People like don't take it seriously at all. So because of that, annulments are like not easy to get, but it's more likely that it's not a real marriage, which is sad to think that you were married for all this time and it wasn't an actual marriage, but you could always get married again. So someone in my RCIA who grew up Catholic but was never confirmed, him and his wife had to get like official married and they invited a ton of people to the wedding. So it was kind of a sweet, it was like re-saying their vows and everything. Michelle's here, hi! I got a civil divorce when I was still LDS. I got so annoyed that Mormons didn't see it as a divorce because of polygamy. Interesting. Diana says, there are so many traditional Catholics on TikTok who say that it is a sin for Catholics to support same-sex civil union. They use the catechism as proof. Is it true? So I don't want to talk about this issue because, like I was just saying, when this issue came up with Pope Francis, I was reading from people who are more educated than I am and have been Catholic longer than I am to understand the issue better. So I'm not a good person to ask. I know you guys like look up to me and I do research into things, but when it comes to like current events in the church or current events in politics, that's not my channel because I'm not an expert and I haven't read into all these things. I read into things for specific videos and a lot of it goes back to like earlier in the church. So yeah, I don't spend a ton of time reading current events, which I probably should. I should probably get more familiar with like 21st century Catholicism, but I'm so much more interested in things in the past. So eventually, probably my boyfriend should give me like daily briefings of what's going on in the world in Catholicism. Maybe I should start asking him to do that. Okay, let's see. Michelle says, I like Audible, but I had to pause my subscription because I'm so behind in my books. Same! Because I do like actual books and Audible, so I paused my subscription for 6 months because I wasn't using it. I was reading for my Black Lives Matter book club on Audible, and we were reading like 2 chapters every 2 weeks or something, so that took me like 6 months or something, or like 2 months or something to read through one book. And then I was reading other books physically. So yeah, I have like so many credits added up. So yeah, they should make a Catholic newspaper. They do have a Catholic newspaper, Catholic News Agency, Register Radio, the Heretic one, Catholic Reporter. So yeah, don't go to the Catholic Reporter. They're a heretic. It was so funny. So I was filming with Catherine Hadro from Pro Life Weekly for a video it's on my channel right now. And I accidentally said the Catholic Reporter rather than the Catholic Register, and she's like, Lizzie, no, the Catholic Register, not the Catholic Reporter, completely different. And I was like, the way I remember it, because they both sound so similar, right? Like you get confused. So I had an article written, I had both. It was a transcribed article, but it was a audio called Register Radio. Like I had an interview on Register Radio, and that just is in my mind, Register Radio. So because of that, I'm always like Catholic Register, not Reporter. So be really careful with the Catholic Reporter. Okay. So people are not liking that I'm in a Black Lives Matter book club. It's like an anti-racism, like raising awareness, educating ourselves on systemic racism book club. It's not like associated with Black Lives Matter. I just feel like maybe I should start saying my anti-racism book club, but we created it because of the Black Lives Matter movement. So yeah, Register, not Reporter. Why is the Catholic Reporter heretical? I don't know, just people I trust have said that it's like very liberal. Maybe look at it and some of the articles will be sketchy. There's an entire video from Lizzie on the BLM website. Yeah, I went through the Black Lives Matter website and I shared everything I disagreed with, which was a lot of things. But I agree with the overall message, not with the organization. I've never donated to the organization, and I don't think you should. I think you should donate to the nonprofits that it promotes. Like it has an entire page that everyone has shared on social media, ways you can help, and it doesn't have their website. It has all these other nonprofits that they want you to donate to. Lizzie, why do trad cats hate the Pope? I think there's some racism involved subliminally. I'm not calling anyone racist. I think subliminally, I think it started because someone was subliminally racist and then they passed it on to other people. So English isn't his first language. People get offended by that. He has an accent. I think people don't like that who are American. It's just Americans who think he's a bad Pope. It's nowhere else in the world do people have an issue with him. It's like mainly just the US. So that's why I think about that. So I think some people started it because of that, and then it like blew out of proportion. Also, compared to Pope Benedict, he says things that get taken out of context a lot. And I think people have started blaming him rather than the media for things getting taken out of context, just because it happens so much. And he doesn't ever like send out statements, not never, but he doesn't usually send out statements to correct what he said, to clear it up for everyone. So people get upset because they feel like he's intentionally confusing everyone and leading the world astray. So that's part of why. But I love Pope Francis. I became Catholic under him. I thought he was cool before I was even Catholic. So David says, I think it's because he's Argentinian and his opinion on the wall and immigration into the USA. Yeah, so a lot of people who care more about being a Trump supporter than being a Catholic, which is a lot of people, and also people who care more about being a Democrat than being a Catholic. If you notice the way that liberals and conservatives fall into heresy, it's based upon going by the party lines. So yeah, I think the immigration thing, that's really interesting because that's been for the past, 4 years affecting a lot of people, and he's been Pope since no, he's been Pope since 2013, I believe. So a long time. So I'm sure recently it's gotten worse for people not liking him. Would you ever tell us who you voted for? So I voted for Democrat, Republican, and independent candidates on my ballot, but I will not share which was which with anyone. I mean, my best friends I've told, and Trevor, but not, publicly. So it's a mystery. I'm Catholic and Republican, but I'm not racist against Pope Francis. I pray for him despite the things I don't like about what he's done. Absolutely. So we should just pray for Pope Francis. And honestly, I think even the trads are really good people, and they probably pray more for Pope Francis than I do because they're mad all the time about him and you have to pray for your enemies. So he probably gets more prayers from America because so many people don't like him. Joe says, you're still here, Lizzie. Yup, how are you doing? David says he's also called for immigrants into Europe to be treated with respect. Yeah, so maybe some people in Europe don't like him either. I don't know. Yeah, guys, that's not... That's not a Virgin Mary emoji. It's a hijab. It's a woman wearing a hijab. So for a Muslim woman, that's so funny that they think that it's the Virgin Mary. I mean, for most of human history, women wore not hijabs, but hijab, headscarves around themselves. So it's kind of weird that we don't anymore. I personally, when I did my women veiling video, I was like, I could go back to this. That would be cool. Because, think about how much time you put into, doing your hair and, thinking about your hair. And instead, if you had a hijab, you just, wouldn't care anymore. So, I think there's, a peace in that. I understand. Obviously, they do it for, modesty, religious reasons. But I understand on, a practical level why that would be really cool. Do you celebrate Halloween? So Halloween is probably my least favorite holiday just because my parents were against us trick-or-treating growing up because they thought it was sketchy. Except trunk or treat at church. Did you guys have that where everyone would go to church and decorate the back of their cars and the kids would go around together? So we did that, but we didn't really celebrate Halloween. I did in college more than growing up because we would have parties and stuff, not with alcohol. No. Though. So I did drink, but you couldn't drink on campus. It was a dry campus. So I'm pretty sure even the professors weren't supposed to have alcohol on the campus, which is ridiculous because a lot of the professor homes were on campus. Okay. Guys, stop appropriating the hijab emoji into Catholicism. That's literally cultural appropriation. I don't like it. Heroes MX, thank you for the donation. Daniel said, lately I've been watching Church Militant. That's a weird channel, LOL. The editing is funny, but yeah, I've shared this a lot, but the guy who runs Church Militant said that he is gay because his mom was bipolar and he hates the fact that he's gay. So it's blaming his mom's mental illness for us. I just don't understand it at all. So I was offended by it. Scott, thank you so much for the donation. I think the press misrepresents the Pope a lot. I have read most of his encyclicals, exhortations, and books. They are very different from what the press report. Read his writings yourself, forget the press. I love this so much. I agree completely. Lizzie, why is cultural appropriation wrong? Because you take something from one culture and steal it without understanding the beauty in it and then take it into your own. So an example of cultural appropriation in Christianity is Protestantism having the Bible. They culturally appropriated like all of Protestantism from Catholicism. They just stole all of it. It's not theirs to steal. It's our Bible. Catholics wrote, compiled, voted on, transcribed, copied the Bible. It's our Bible. So don't you guys get annoyed that Protestants use our Bible, use some of our sacraments, take some of our songs, practices, like all of it? So everyone agrees with this. Yeah, right? So if you understand that, like how angry does that make you? Can you understand how other cultures and religions would feel when you take from them what is not yours to take? Okay. You can download all of the Pope's encyclicals, exhortations for free at the Vatican website. Yes, everything is online. I read a lot from the Vatican website when I'm researching for videos. It's so great how everything is available, and they have so many footnotes of Bible verses and church documents and the catechism, like everywhere, like loads of footnotes. It's so freaking cool. Okay, lots of comments lately. Pedro says, I like your history of conversion because it shows how studies based on the true leads to the Catholic Church. Salutations from Brazil. Viva Cristo. I'm really want to go to Brazil someday. At my college, they had a study abroad program in BA. Headscarf and hijab are different. Have you ever gone to Day of the Dead celebration or seen an altar in person? I have gone to like mass for All Souls Day and All Saints Day and all of that, but I've never gone to like an official please come to Brazil. I've never been to an official like Catholic All Souls Day, more intense than going to mass type celebration. Okay. What's your take on Magicoria? Skeptical of it or down to skeptical of it, down to the visionaries making millions out of it? I'm skeptical, but I'm not going to say like yes or no because I don't know. I don't think any of us know. K-pop is technically appropriation of American pop music, which later formed into its own genre, which now American musicians are appropriating. Is that wrong too? That's interesting. I guess like when it comes to cultural appropriation, you have to ask the people who you're appropriating how they feel about it. Are they upset? Do they feel like you've stolen something from them? Are they offended by it? Is it awful what has happened? So I think K-pop would have to ask music industry in the US and pop artists how they feel about creating K-pop music and see whether or not they're okay with it. Super comment. Hello, Lizzie. Blessings from Peru. Did you ever watch Father Groeschel interview by Linda Schaefer on Mother Teresa and faith? I think you will love it. Okay, I'm opening up the link in another tab for me to watch. Oh, it's so long. Okay, I'll listen to it while I'm cleaning tomorrow. Okay. Someone found another emoji that could be the Virgin Mary. it's sad for me to see Pope Francis being against President Trump. He's also against Biden and Kamala. So it's not like he hates Trump specifically, he hates policies of both people. But it's really funny. So Pope Francis's resting face is like, that's just like his natural face when he's not like talking or like making an emotion or smiling. So there's like this photo of Trump and Pope Francis, and Trump is like, and Pope Francis is like he's so upset that he's there. Daniel, thank you so much for the donation. All old people have a face like that. Okay, I like the one where you have a Mary emoji with a crown on it. So definitely the emoji with the crown, because Mary's Queen of Heaven, I think is like the right emoji that we should be using. Pope Francis has a beautiful smile. Absolutely, I love his smile. But when he was next to Trump, he was like, even a blue dress. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool. Okay. I just read a comment. Where did it go? It was by Heather. Did she remove the comment? Oh, okay, never mind. She removed it. Queen of Heaven, Mother of God. I'm so glad we found the right emoji. Which modern pope's writings do you like the most? So I've really only read from Pope Francis and Pope Benedict. I'll get baptized in a Syriac Catholic church in December. Can you pray for me? I'm so excited. That's really, really exciting. Oh. Why is blue related to Our Lady? Yeah, why is it? Why is blue related to Mary? I know, like, I got my nails blue. I've been wearing blue in a lot of videos because of Mary. People are like so excited when I wear blue in a video. Like, I'll just be happening to wear blue and they'll be like, Mary blue. So yeah, someone tell me where that started and why. The sky, the heaven. Wow, Diana, you found it. You even found a blue dress. And then, is it appropriation that we're using the Muslim prayer beads for the rosary beads? I don't know. Is that a bad thing? Because I used that in my thumbnail of my last video. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. We tend to use white now, but traditionally blue is associated with purity. I trust John on this. Pray the rosary. This live stream is like kindergarten. Because everyone is commenting pictures and we're talking about pictures. Lizzie, have you looked up the Gara Bandel story where Mary revealed herself to these young girls? No, I have not. I will screenshot this. I have an entire folder of screenshotted video requests and comments and prayer requests on my computer. So my old computer, I should have filmed this, but anytime I screenshotted something, it would go to my desktop. So I don't know if you guys know, but I screenshot things all the time for my videos. So I'll like screenshot Bible verses, I'll screenshot pictures, and then edit them into my videos. So I've had this computer, my old computer I had for like 4 years or something. So everything I'd ever screenshotted was on my desktop. And I'm pretty sure photos were saved on my desktop as well. So I'd like layer and layer and layer and layer and layer, like 15 layers of things on my desktop. It was a mess. So now I keep my desktop really clean, and after I use screenshots for videos, I will take them and then delete them. So I keep it more organized and clean, and I can actually see on my computer the picture in the background. Daniel says, blue is a color that represents purity and sanctity, though it has other meanings. During the medieval period, blue stained glass was especially sought after and was especially attributed to Mary. That's really, really cool. Alioth found an emoji for Jesus. When you type out rosary, the prayer bead shows up. Interesting. I just think it'd be cool to have a rosary emoji with like a little picture of Mary and a crucifix. That would be really, really cool. Is a vegan Thanksgiving meal possible? Yes. So I recommend YouTube searching Kalel Thanksgiving. She is an ex-vegan, but her vegan video, she might be back to vegan now, who knows? But she made a vegan Thanksgiving video that has been re-uploaded, and it shows you how to make green bean casserole. So I make green bean casserole, homemade, that's vegan. I use almond milk, mushroom, yellow onion, and green beans, and then the crunchy thing on the top. So that's really, really good. They have loads of vegan turkeys that you can use. So Gardein has one, Trader Joe's has one, that's probably the best one that they have. So we always have, when I'm with my family for Thanksgiving, I make the green bean casserole now. We make the mashed potatoes with vegan butter, super easy. You can make rolls that are vegan, like we always make dinner rolls, like spiral ones. So I have a recipe that's like, has eggs and dairy in it, but I've been able to veganize it. It's so easy to veganize recipes, you guys, like so freaking easy. You just use like vegan milk, vegan egg substitute, flax seeds, vegan butter. It's so easy to substitute vegan things. So yeah, maybe I should make a vlog of Thanksgiving vegan. I can't imagine seeing a whole turkey like vegan food. It would be horrifying since it would be so processed. You know what's horrifying? Turkeys getting tortured their entire lives. It's so good too. Alexander says, Lizzie, how can you steal someone else's culture? The Protestants stole the Bible, but we still have it, so it's not theft, it's copying. I might have stolen the hijab emoji, but it's there. Fatima said, are you excited for Christmas? So I feel like we have Halloween, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. So I'm not excited for Christmas yet. But my sister's not coming home for Christmas because of the pandemic, so I already shopped for her Christmas presents when I was visiting Boston, where she lives. So I went shopping for her and like gave her a giant bag full of her presents, so I don't have to pay to mail them to her. I have been narrating statues. Any suggestions? Yes, Danny. So I'm gonna link you a video that talks about these topics. Uh-oh, I almost X'd out of the thing that someone sent me to watch. Okay. Lizzie's answers. Here. Most Googled questions about the Catholic Church. I answer it in here. Danny, here's the video. It was so funny. Last live stream, someone was like, let's make a drinking game. Every time Lizzie says, I made an entire video about it, take a shot. I think that could be, we would be getting pretty tipsy during the live stream. By the way, guys, I don't recommend getting drunk. I completely am against getting drunk. It's a mortal sin in Catholicism to get drunk. So I'm not promoting that at all, okay? Just so that if anyone like takes this out of context and gets confused. Lizzie, another amazing thing to look up. Sorry if this adds a screenshot. Yeah, I'm screenshotting it right now. The dialogue of St. Catherine of Siena with God the Father. I listened to it all, most amazing dialogue. Is it on Audible? I'll definitely do it. Okay. Christmas does not start till Christmas Day and ends January the 6th. Secular society thinks that Christmas ends on Christmas Day, but it's actually Advent. Yeah, exactly. Christ in Pepperdine, we actually celebrated Advent. We had like, yeah, it was weird because like Church of Christ doesn't like Catholicism. So when people are like, what are you giving up for Lent? And like, your Church of Christ, I was like, that's a Catholic thing. Why would you do that? Like, that's weird. We're not Catholics here. So what about you guys when you were Protestant? Did you guys celebrate Advent or anything? Trevor says, this is not my Trevor, by the way, a different Trevor. Trevor says, how did you handle learning about mortal sin during your conversion? Were you also terrified? Was it hard and scary to unlearn everything you thought you knew? Did you ever get depressed? So I personally have noticed, ooh, I almost hit my computer. So I personally don't deal with those like compelling thoughts of like constantly thinking like, am I going to hell? Am I going to hell? Did I mortal sin? Like, I don't deal with that. People who have anxiety and specifically who have OCD will deal with that a lot, but I don't. I just have bipolar depression and mania. So it doesn't really, yeah, the thing that we call that is scrupulosity, when you're constantly like scared about your salvation. And I personally don't struggle with that. But the thing is, I go to regular confession. So I'm never worried about anything. If I am worried about it, I'll immediately go to confession. And I live in a pretty urban area, so I can go like the next day, I can find a Catholic church. So it's never like, oh, I'm scared to go to confession for a year and I have all this scrupulosity and like, what if I go to hell? Like, I probably will go to hell if you don't go to confession for an entire year. Like, yeah. So I think it's really important to go to regular confession, and that solves any scrupulosity that I have, but I don't even have scrupulosity, so I wouldn't use that word to describe myself and my spiritual life. I love Advent. It is full of joyful anticipation. What is she ranting about? We're talking about mortal sin. I don't like it when a lot of YouTubers do Advent calendar vlogs that have nothing to do with the faith. Cultural appropriation! See? It happens so much to Catholics. Oh, it's on YouTube. Oh, okay. For sure. JC says, I have been struggling with a little bit of scrupulosity. I feel like the best way to deal with that is finding a good priest who talks about it. Like, I actually confessed a dream the last time I was in confession because I mortal sinned in my dream. And I was like, what? And I thought it was a lucid dream. And I was like, so confessing a dream. But I confessed it. Like, if you feel like you've done something that is wrong, just confess it. And maybe you're wrong about it being a sin, but it's better to confess more than confess less. Did you know that Catholicism is the best form of Christianity for schizophrenics and similar? Absolutely, I would believe that. And also, Catholics have the lowest suicide rate of people with depression. So I think it definitely helps people with mental illness so much. What if you have a lot of anxiety about going to confession and also struggle with scrupulosity? Pray. I would have your patron saint be praying for you all the time so that you have the strength to go to confession. And I would find a priest who really vibes with you really well. Maybe try out different priests. I know some priests are less emotional, some of them are more personal. So just hop around to different Catholic churches and find a priest who really vibes well with you. JC said, one time I confessed something that happened in a dream too, and the priest told me it is not a mortal sin if it was unwanted. But if it's a lucid dream, I feel like it could be a mortal sin. Anyways, but that's the thing. Like, I have confession, so now I don't have to worry about it. I was like, oh, like I had a lucid dream, maybe. Heather says, do you think developing feelings for someone is the same as crushing on them? Yes. I don't think so. It may be that you admire the person in a platonic way. Well, that's interesting. I don't know. I've never like had a crush on my friends before, but I'm very selective with people I'm attracted to on like an emotional level. Like I can be like, oh, like that guy's hot, but to actually like be someone who I would want to fall in love with, super rare. Your dreams aren't your own actions, they're only unwanted thoughts. But do you guys not believe that lucid dreams have your actual, like, real, you know what I mean? Like, your free will is involved? I don't know. How do you know if you're falling in love? So, like, with my current boyfriend, I don't know how to describe it, but, like, I just knew that I was falling in love, and then I realized that my previous boyfriend, I was never in love with. I loved, but I was never in love with, compared to the way that I feel about my current boyfriend. I don't know how to describe it. You just know that you love them and you want to say, I love you. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, it's not, I think it's different. So like I could feel like sacrificial love, like I would die for someone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in love with them. So yeah, I was in an entire relationship where I don't think I was actually in love with the person. And now with Trevor, I'm like, oh, like this is what being in love is. And it's not an emotion, because with my last relationship, I was manic the whole time. So I had like huge emotions, like so many like intoxication, like type emotion, because I was manic, and then it felt like love. So yeah, you just know. You just know when you're in love with someone. I don't know, it's like a common human experience, so. David says, dreams are a way of the mind clearing itself of psychological rubbish. Paul says, I love Lizzie's answers, but I'm not in love. See? As someone who is schizoaffective, I have to be very careful with Catholic mysticism. Interesting. Daniel, thank you for the donation. Have you ever tried a charismatic Catholic retreat? If yes, what is your opinion about it? So let me think about Catholic retreats that I've been on. So I was at a Theology of the Body one. I was at a trad one before. I don't think I've ever been, I was at one in Ireland that was more trad. So I don't think I've ever been to a charismatic Catholic retreat, but I don't think I would like it. I'm not a charismatic type person, just with who I am, I'm not into that. Blood Covenant said, your desires will show up in your dreams whether or not they're good or evil. Saint Augustine, I believe, said bad dreams are not sinful, just examine it, and if it speaks to you like a sin in the dream, it's a struggle in real life, then pray about it. Ooh, that's interesting. So maybe like something that happens in a dream is like a real thing that I'm struggling with. That's so interesting. Diana says, I lucid dream, and yes, you are in control and are aware, which makes you culpable. I agree with you, Lizzie. You see me rolling. Bye. Have a nice night. David says, I don't remember my dreams at all. Survival bacon? Survival bacon? What is that supposed to mean? I just started RCIA. I'm so happy to be coming home to Catholicism. Aw, welcome home. We're so excited to have you here. Protestants return to the Catholic home. What if I dream of eating too much? Is that gluttony? Maybe. Daniel says, I don't really want to get married. I don't think that is my vocation. I'm discerning the religious life. The only person that I am in love with is Christ. That's really sweet. I always get nightmares, at least one per month. Worst nightmare ever is when you go on to Lamictal. Ooh, horrible, vivid, worst nightmares ever is on Lamictal. But just go tapering on it. Once you're on it, then you don't have the dreams anymore. So actually, like, now that I've been medicated for so long, I don't really have vivid dreams anymore. But that was like in 2015 when I got depression for the first time. My first symptom of going into depression was vivid dreams. Isn't that crazy? It was like the first symptom, because when you're in depression, you're supposed to be sleeping for 2/3 of the sleep. 2/3 of when you're sleeping is deep sleep, and 1/3 is your REM. 1/3 is your dreaming. 2/3 deep sleep, 1/3 dreaming. And so it's flipped in depression, where you're dreaming for 2/3 of the night and deep sleep for 1/3 of the night. So that's why you get so tired in depression, because you literally need to sleep like twice the amount of time to get as much sleep. So, Heart of the Orthodox Christian, hello again, hi. Diana says, I struggle with the sin of gluttony, but I also have an eating disorder, and I think I have a good addiction. So I don't know if it's like a mortal sin. Honestly, all of that confuses me. So I would say that if it has to do with your mental illness, it automatically is not a mortal sin. For example, if I suffer with major depressive disorder and kill myself, that's not a mortal sin because it's related to your mental illness. So I would guess that if you have binge eating from an eating disorder, that automatically disqualifies it, because yeah, eating disorders are mental illnesses. So that's my opinion on it, but I would obviously talk to a priest and ask for his opinion on it as well, or a spiritual director, someone who's been Catholic longer than I have. But I just know with mental illnesses, not a mortal sin. Okay, Alexander. Flag, have you seen it? It's the best flag in the continent, and it has 100% Catholic imagery. Okay, let's see. Quebec flag. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Do you guys want to see the Quebec flag? This is the Quebec flag. Rudolph, thank you for the donation. What's a good way of explaining the Trinity to a Muslim we are trying to help bring to Jesus if it is possible? I am a horrible person to answer this question, but Augustine has a book called On the Trinity, so that could be a good place to start. But honestly, it confuses me so much, and I've kind of given up on understanding it or being able to explain it to others, so I'm not a good person to ask on it. But read Augustine and pray for Augustine's intercession for helping them to understand the Trinity, since he wrote an entire book on it. Pray the Rosary says, Lizzie, do you have any recommendations, like prayer life-wise, for those with schizoaffective disorder? I wish I could answer this question, but I have no idea what it's like to have schizoaffective. I know there's a lot of the same symptoms as bipolar, because it's like schizophrenia and bipolar together. But when it comes to when people talk about things that they feel like overly guilty and scrupulosity and all these things, or like hearing voices, I don't really know how to help with that, because I just have never had that experience. So David says the shamrock is how St. Patrick explained the Trinity. Elvis says, Lizzie, do you think that a boyfriend should commit to his girlfriend and actually be a fiance, or just keep it vague and waste the girl's time in youthful years? So first of all, you're not wasting someone's time if you're in a beautiful, flourishing relationship. You're learning together, you're growing, you're becoming a better version of yourself, hopefully, if it's a good partner for you. You're having happy times, you're sharing books, you're cooking together, you're going on walks, you're working out together. Like, there's so many pluses of being in a relationship, and I would never describe it as you're wasting someone's time by being in love with them. I think that's horrible. Like, you shouldn't, if you look back on any relationship and regret it, I think that was like a horrible relationship. I don't think you should regret any relationship you've had, because it has taught you so much about yourself. Even like hurt involved in a relationship, obviously I'm not talking about abuse at all, like you regret the abusive relationship, obviously, but even times that you've hurt each other, you probably learn from it. So I don't like that question, I would say. But I mean, eventually you have to talk about marriage. I think you should wait a year to talk about marriage, just because, okay, it depends on how old you are, number one. I posted about this on Twitter and everyone freaked out. So it depends on how old you are. If you are like a teenager or you're in college and you start talking about marriage like 3 months in, that's weird. Don't do that. All the guys in my Christian university were like talking about marriage within a month. It was weird. Like, it happened to a lot of my friends. And then guess what? The guy broke up with them. It's like, don't talk about marriage when you just met someone and when you're so young. If you're like in your late 20s and you start talking about marriage like 3 months in, see, that makes sense to me and is normal. But I know with like my boyfriend and I, we like agreed to not talk about marriage for like 2 years. And then I think we did within like a year, because we realized like we clicked really well. And it was actually funny. So one time Trevor gave me a necklace for my birthday and it was in like a ring case. I mean, it was in like a jewelry case, but it looked like a ring. And he's like, this isn't a ring, by the way. So that's kind of how the conversation came up. Because he's like, I'm not proposing, don't freak out. Because it was only a year in. I would have freaked out if someone proposed to me a year in without a marriage conversation. No. So I think it's fine to go slow in relationships. You don't have to be like, are we getting married right away, especially when you're young. I honestly have experienced through a lot of my friends that it makes the breakup even worse if you put in someone's mind that you can see yourself marrying them. Like, it will hurt people if you can't keep that promise. So be really careful throwing around the word marriage. It hurts people during breakups. It's better to talk about it later, especially if you're young, especially if you could not get married anytime soon because you're still in college. So high school, college, if you have not been together for like a year, 2 years plus, like, don't bring it up. So they're saying the Quebec flag is a symbol of Mary and... Uh-oh, I just exited out of the video. Okay, my computer just unconnected from the internet. I'm glad this is still working. Okay, so we've been on here for an hour and a half. Are you feeling less stressed now, Lizzie? Yes, I feel a lot better talking through and hanging out with you guys and answering questions and hearing where your guys' hearts are at right now. So it's been really, really fun hanging out with you guys. We've been here for an hour and a half. Oh my goodness, I'm going back on my video to see the live chat, and it's a Trump ad against Joe Biden. Joe Biden raises taxes on day one. Joe Biden won't bring back America. He'll take down America. And then they have an image of Joe Biden scratching his nose. Like, why did they find the worst possible video clip for Biden? That's so ridiculous. Okay, so we cured you. You should do this whenever you're upset. Aw, you guys are really, really sweet. So I'm gonna go. I love you guys a lot. I will be back on live streaming. What's today? Friday, October 30th. Definitely not live streaming after the election. Everyone's gonna be like, who did you vote for? Who did you want to win? So we're not gonna live stream about the election. But if we do, I'm gonna avoid every question about the election. So we shall see. Happy All Souls Day. Happy Halloween. I hope you guys have a good time. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!